guys. Thug life, tough guys. Where you gonna go? Threw your life away, now you gotta lay low.
This is Officer Chaos. We've got a 360 in progress at the Experience Music Project.
Car 44 on its way. What seems to be the problem?
They're back.
Hey, I told you guys you're supposed to keep this inside the key arena, not outside. You guys, it's supposed to be inside the key arena. Well, Fab, at the very least, can I have an autograph for my kid? Officer Argenzia. Yeah, that's right. Get out of here. I love you.
Sports World Championships, and we're just about to get underway with the Vert Inline Finals. A couple of storylines to watch out for. Fabiola DaSilva, who's always out here competing against the guys, is looking very strong in the practice sessions. And another Brazilian, Marc Santi, who's been away from the competition scene for the past few years, is back, and it looks like he's going to be back with a vengeance.
Also, top skaters like Shane Yost out of Tasmania and American Marc Engelhart looking to take the top spot, and the door is wide open. This year, the Yasutoko brothers, Takeshi and Eito, who have been so dominant since 2002, are not here, and that leaves the door wide open for other talent to take the top 2 spots. Each skater here will get 2 50-second runs. Only the better of those 2 will count for their final run score. Up first, Matt Lindenmuth out of Kutztown, Pennsylvania, a very, very exciting skater.
Matt has spent more time the past few years snowboarding than rollerblading, but he still spends a little bit of time on his skates, made it out for the finals.
Had a huge moment, the first ever skater to do a double backflip on the vert ramp. We'll see if he has it in him to try that here. A super risky trick, and with so much time away from the ramp, unlikely to see it here in his first run.
Well, and you know, he also was the only one to try a triple backflip in a competition format. Never quite landed it, but those days were a long time ago now, Marc. And as you mentioned, probably not something that Matt's gonna be trying here this afternoon. Just missing on the sole grind, getting upside down with the invert. So a fairly safe run for Matt, low amplitude, but for the most part stayed on his feet for the duration.
So Matt Lindenmuth, his first run, a safe run, but nothing too spectacular, nothing that's going to dazzle the judges.
Well, and as you mentioned, this is a best run format, so he'll get another chance in the second round, and he'll have the freedom to sort of open up a little bit, take some more chances in round number 2. He should have an okay score here. Looked like he was on the sole grind for a moment, then popped off.
64.75 makes him our current leader for the moment. But up next, out of the UK, this is Rich Parker, 21 years young, but he's already been on the tour for a number of years.
Well, and we have seen improvement from Rich Parker every year that he's been on the tour. And he's added to his arsenal of tricks some pretty big tricks. He has the forward 900, but he also throws the 1080, and he's got some pretty difficult flat spin tricks. Does a flat 9.
And already getting much higher than Matt Lindenmuth, up overhead on the airs to start things off. There's the flat spin 540.
Yeah, you can see the amplitude's pretty good here, and look at that. Flat roll 900.
That's 2.5 full body rotations, gets completely sideways the way he rotates it, and there doing it alley-oop style, the alley-oop 540 flat spin.
Yeah, a whole bunch of different variations here. Very nice run from Rich. Maybe not as polished as some of the more senior veterans on the tour, but definitely not lacking for a variety of tricks. very good run here so far from Rich.
Looking like a young Shane Yost, actually, the way he's doing a lot of these spin tricks. Unfortunately going down there, but almost at time. It won't hurt him too much.
Easy for you to say. Actually, it looked like it hurt quite a bit.
Well, it won't hurt his score too much as time runs out.
But he came down really hard on that hip and looked like he whipped his neck maybe a little bit.
He came down pretty quick. All right, Seattle, let him hear it.
Put your hands together.
Back on his feet. A great effort here. Spinning around, but it looks like he looped out. Went down pretty hard.
He hit his hip pretty hard, and then everything else came flying down afterwards.
Probably hurts a lot worse at the end of a 50-second run after you filled it up with as many tricks as he did. I mean, you can tell he was exhausted, and that's just a tough way to end it. But as you mentioned, will not hurt his score too much.
A 72.25, a much better score and a much more exciting run than Matt Lindenmuth, but still a long way to go. We've got some heavy hitters coming up. Sven Boekhorst out of Den Bosch, Holland. Always underrated on the vert ramp because of his dominance on the street course.
You know, I should say that I think that that score for Rich was probably a little stingy from the judges.
Scores here from 1 to 100, and they will throw away their lower score run, so only the better of the two will count here in the final. Sven Boekhorst, an all-around amazing, very confident skater.
Well, yeah, you know, I was just watching his skating. You know, as a contrast from Rich, Sven probably won't have the level of difficulty in his tricks, but you can see in the style that he's, more, as you mentioned, more confident, more polished, just very clean skating. And someplace we do expect Sven to excel is on the coping. You just saw the clean fish brain from him. Now going alley-oop fish brain, a very difficult trick, especially on the vert ramp. But because of Sven's extensive street skating experience, he tends to excel on the coping and on those grinds.
And really no obstacle is too difficult for Sven. He's a true street skater. He's also a very accomplished park skater. And this ramp, one of the largest in the world, and he's making it look easy.
And you know, an interesting story about Sven, the past few seasons, he really was not able to focus on skating because he was focusing on his studies. So it's nice to see him back and still competitive.
Well, as you said before, this run did not seem to have some of the difficulty, but I'll tell you, the fluidity and the style and the way he pulled off the tricks, I think the judges are going to love it.
Yeah, there's a number of factors that the judges are looking at here: the style, consistency, difficulty, and you know, as you can tell, Sven's style points are probably going to be pretty high. He did a fish brain, and then he came right back with an alley-oop fish brain. Very difficult vert trick, and he covered a lot of space, so good points for that.
78.25 makes Sven Boekhorst our current and new leader. Still a lot more skating here in round number 1. Our top qualifiers, the heavy hitters, coming up.
The LG Action Sports World Championships is brought to you by LG Life's Good, by Maxell, official sponsor of the Action Sports World Tour, by NPPL Championship Paintball 2009, bbsting.com, and by BFD.com. The biggest names in action sports are at BFD.com.
Welcome back to Seattle, Washington. We're at the Key Arena. It's the LG Action Sports World Championships of Inline Vert. Here on the Monster Vert Ramp, we are midway through round number 1. Our current leader, Sven Boekhorst out of Den Bosch, Holland. But up next, out of Bilbao, Spain, it's Borja Fernandez.
Borha has a real interesting style. Over the years, he's earned a reputation as spending significant amount of time on the vert ramp skating backwards, so link up those tricks back to back, going backwards all the while.
And definitely has an all-or-nothing style. He puts it all on the ramp, sometimes leaves himself on the flat bottom, though. Last year did not bode too well for him at the championships. Missed the top 10. We'll see if he has better luck here.
That's a great point, actually. Borha has struggled with consistency in competitions over the years. And when he does well, if he can stay on his feet, he's got the tricks and he's got the style to be in contention. It's just a matter of staying on his feet. They're getting a little sketchy on the coping, but able to stick with it. Backside Royale coming in fakie, setting up for the fakie 900.
Really the highlight of the run so far, the big inverted 720. So he's had a couple of big tricks, but every time he gets on the coping, his arms start flapping. Looks like he's having trouble balancing and getting himself set.
Yeah, and he really lost a lot of amplitude there. In the second half of the run, he stayed at or below coping pretty much for the remainder of the run. But when he was good, he was really good. Here, earlier in the run, he got a lot of definition out of the grabs. His amplitude was pretty good. Look at this. Tweaking out the inverted 720, very nice. And this is his second trick in the sequence, and now he's going to do one more. Coming up for a fakey 900. So great sequence from Borja. Unfortunately, he couldn't fill the full 50 seconds with it.
73 is what the judges give him for run number 1, and that puts him in second place behind Sven boekhorst for now. Our next skater up, American Thumper Nagasako out of Maui, Hawaii. Has been on the tour now for more than 5 years. Each year he seems to improve. Does a lot of his training, though, on his own and with his friends back in Hawaii. Good distance on that first air, though.
Also spending a lot of time lately at Woodward training with some of the other top guys on the tour. And Thumper is someone who's been really active sort of in the vert world. He has a website, highrollers.com, and just communicates and networks with all the vert skaters. And you can see his skating has really improved this season. He's added amplitude. He's still got a big vocabulary of tricks, and it keeps expanding. And he is one of the rare vert skaters that's actually pretty good on the coping. There he goes, 270, backside Farfignugan, right on cue, right into the backflip. So a very balanced skater in terms of difficult grinds and really difficult air tricks. There he goes, true topside sole.
He looks really comfortable. So far, locking on, well, I spoke too soon. Going there for one of the more technical tricks, and he does not lock on, ends out on the flat bottom to finish his runoff.
And you know, that's why most of these vert skaters stay away from those grinds, and the difficult grinds in particular, because they really are high risk to relatively low reward. They're not as dynamic as the big airs, but if you miss it, I mean, since he's right down to the flat bomb, can really kill a run. There he goes with a stale 540.
As we take a look at Thumper here on the replay.
Right into a 540 flat spin. Got the mute grab, very well done. And when he did the grinds well, they can really help his run, but as you can see, if you miss them, it's tough to recover. He's trying to spin 360 to a topside acid grind, which is a very difficult trick. You won't see other vert skaters attempting tricks like that. But Thumper, unfortunately, in this run, paying the price for it.
A 74.75 makes him our top American. He is in second place now as we move on to Kevin Marrin Lopez out of Brussels, Belgium. A very international field here in the vert class.
And that's always the case with vert skating. In fact, it's more popular abroad than it is right here at home. We've got a couple of guys carrying the torch here for American vert skating, but mostly the top contenders come from overseas, and in particular, over the past several seasons, the Yasutokos from Japan. But here we have Kevin Marrin Lopez from Belgium, and he's always been one of the more stylish skaters on the tour. And we've seen in the scoring here today that the judges definitely are giving special consideration to good style out here on the vert ramp.
Kevin representing one of 7 countries out of these 10 skaters. Pretty impressive there, trying to lock on it just like Thumper Nagasako. Ends out finishing the run on the flat bottom, couldn't lock on to his last grind trick.
Well, you know something interesting about this run from Kevin? I mentioned his good style. He's always had good style, but he's also always gone really high. And in this run, he really did not have very much amplitude at all. You see this hover flip right here was right at coping, and then just even barely getting up for the invert. Here he was trying to lock on with an alley Macchio, never got the sole plate on, and you see how it ended.
The bad news, a 63.75. The good news, he can throw that score out because it's only the better of 2 run scores. A lot more incredible skating coming up, including the queen of vert, Fabiola DaSilva, and the ambassador for women and girls across the world. Welcome back to beautiful Seattle, Washington. It's the LG Action Sports World Championships of Inline Vert. We are at the Key Arena. And our next skater up is Fabiola DaSilva, who has a very real chance of making the podium. But before she drops in, let's get to see how she inspires other young girls to get out and get active. She's this week's Paul Mitchell's Runs with Scissors featured athlete.
Girls Incorporated of Orange County serves girls 4.5 to 18 throughout Orange County. it's an opportunity for girls to see young ladies in this arena already and to see them as role models.
I want to learn from Fabiola.
Basically, we came to send a message to all these girls, young girls, how we got started, and just basically to motivate them to play sports. Oh, those are some fancy skates, girl. We are here just to try to push them and give them a positive attitude and positive vibe. Give me your hand, you're gonna go like this. Look what I'm doing, just go like that. I always do this kind of event, I always participate. I think it's really cool. We come out here and we have the opportunity to talk to kids and just motivate them to do what they like to do, what they're best. I think that's the way we gotta go to get more girls involved in sports, you know, and just show them a little bit of love because they're gonna be the future, you know.
And the ultimate Supergirl, Fabiola DaSilva, got so close to a podium spot so many times at this event. Last year, not so much. She ended out in 10th because she went down on a couple of very big, risky tricks. But here, looking great during warm-ups.
And looking great here to start a run. You know, we've been getting on a lot of guys so far for having low amplitude, but Fabiola not lacking in that department here, going very high for the first several walls. She had that huge flat spin at the height of one of her biggest airs. Now a full invert. A lot of guys getting lazy on that, we've seen, but Fabiola getting a lot of definition out of all these tricks. Nice topside sole.
One thing you can never say about Fabiola is good for a girl. I mean, she has all of the tricks that the best skaters out here have. She's got the double backflip. She's got the 540 flat spin. She's incredible on the coping there, just losing it a little bit, but keeping her run going.
You know, and she looks really good skating. She is a powerful skater. Her airs are big and strong. She's just a top contender all around.
And despite finishing low, Fabiola putting together a great run.
Yeah, and she started high. I mean, look at these first three tricks. Big 540, and then she goes right into really what is the highlight of her run, the flat spin 540, still with good amplitude and very solid. And look at how much distance she covers on the ramp, always carving, big floaty airs. It just makes the skating in the run look so good. And here she was on the coping, alley sole, but then she dropped several feet nearly to the flat bottom, landing at the bottom of the transition.
78.50 though puts her on top for now. Fabiola DaSilva. Then the crowd loves that. Just edging her way ahead of Sven boekhorst here with one more run to go. And I am so excited to see our next skater, Marco desanti. He took off a number of years so he could skate in the Cirque du Soleil in Las Vegas, skating every single day. I don't know if you remember, Arlo, but at Woodward, he tried a triple backflip, almost landed it. He was such an exciting, explosive skater, and nobody's seen him in such a long time.
Well, and he was the first skater to land in a contest. He landed a double flat spin right into a double backflip. That had never been done before, not in that sequence. I mean, look at the height. You can't even keep the coping in the frame with him. This is amazing. I think a lot of people are excited about the return of Marco desanti to competition skating. Here we go, double flat spin. Right into a switch double flat spin.
Well, that time away was time well spent. Keep in mind, when you're a member of the cast of a Cirque du Soleil, they actually teach you how to do everything. You have to learn how to juggle. You have to learn how to do all the different things. Quite coordinated, I would say. A double backflip there.
This is an incredible run from Marco desanti, and he is taking advantage of this opportunity with the Yasutokos out. But I tell you what, even if they were here, I mean, this is a championship caliber run from Marco desanti. He's doing things in that run that we have not seen any other skaters do. And he knows it.
The bar has just been raised substantially by the Brazilian Marco desanti.
Well, talk about coming back in dramatic fashion. What a way to return to the competition circuit. Huge Viking flip, tribute to Takeshi Yasutoko, who's not here, right into a double flat spin. And then he's not done yet. He's going out of the most difficult trick in rollerblading. He's going to go right into an off-axis double backflip. I mean, talk about difficulty. This is off the charts.
I'll tell you something funny about that song you were skating to by the Beatles.
And then when you can throw in a double backflip as essentially a filler trick, I mean, you are talking about just a level of skating that we have not seen in a long time on the Vert Tour.
No wasted walls, a 91.25. The only skater to break into the 90s. Frankly, so far, the only skater to get a score in the 80s or 90s. Marco DeSanti, our runaway favorite right now, but Marc Engelhart is up next.
Well, you know, when we found out that the Yasutokos weren't going to be here, the two guys who probably figured to gain the most out of it were Marc Engelhart and Shane Yost, two guys that have always been battling those two skaters. Look at the amplitude here from Marc. We're seeing a different kind of competition here now with these top guns. No offense to the rest of the guys, but it's just such a different caliber of skating when you see these guys at the very top of their game. Marc Engelhart, 1080, stuck it right at the top of the vert. Wow.
Wow, an explosive run to that point. He left a decent amount of time, though, on the clock. We'll see how that hurts his score. A great effort, and hopefully we'll get to see him put together a full pull in round number 2.
Well, Marc, I don't want to overstate it, but that was shocking. I mean, you've only got 2 chances here in this contest, and I know he can throw one score away, but he had it going. He landed his most difficult trick, the 1080, one of only a handful of guys, if that can do the trick, and then to land on the trick after the 1080, which should have been a given for him. I mean, it's essentially, it's a fakey 540, one of the first tricks that anybody learns in vert skating. I mean, I say it's shocking. I know he's got to be disappointed with that.
Second place belongs to Fabiola DaSilva.
74.50, a very disappointing first round score. And I understand that he didn't put together a full pull, but I'm actually surprised that his score is that low. Not even breaking above a 75 with the difficulty of tricks he put in. And now it's all on Shane Yost's shoulders. Shane Yost, last year's silver medalist at this event. We'll see if he can make it a goal.
If ever there was a time to do it, this is his opportunity. This is probably the best shot Shane Yost has ever seen. And look at the height. He's going for it now. Big flat spin 540, right into a hover flip, inverted 540. 720.
Well, arguably nobody has more spins, and the one place that he's been criticized is his amplitude.
Whoa.
He seems to be putting it all together here. Great amplitude in this run.
Double flat spin, he stuck it. Flat 900, completely laid out. And you'll notice no wasted walls here. I mean, it's just trick after trick, and they are all so difficult.
Nicknamed the Tasmanian Devil for his ability to spin so many rotations during a run. Interesting, kind of doing into a drop sole there off of the deck.
I think that was improvised. Invert 540. And there's just no stopping him. A super run from Shane Yost. And now the rap on Shane for a long time has been that everyone knows he has more tricks than everyone else. And the feeling among vert skaters has always been that Shane is underappreciated because they know what he's doing out there. They feel like the judges don't appreciate quite the level and the quantity of tricks that Shane is throwing out there. But I think what marks against him sometimes is, you know, you see a guy like Marco who's going really high and throws out the really dramatic tricks that make an impression. And you see Shane will go through a whole series of tricks that are impressive but are hovering, you know, 5 or 6 feet or less.
And 86.25, that makes Shane our current second place finisher here at the end of round number 1. Taking a look at the Paul Mitchell leaderboard with 1 round still to go. Marco DeSanti sits way up on top, Shane Yost in second, and Fabiola DaSilva right now sitting in the bronze medal spot. We'll see if Marc Engelhart and Thumper Nagasako, the American powerhouses, can improve in round number 2.
Attention all units, this is the LG Action Sports World Championships.
We're about to get underway with round number 2 of the Vert Inline Finals. There were some major developments performance in the first round. Marc Engelhart, one of the highest ranked guys coming in this event, fell in his first run. He's got his work cut out for him in round number 2. Shane Yost, the Australian, he's in good position. He had a good first run, but how about those Brazilians? Fabiola DaSilva, the only female in this contest, in 3rd spot right now, holding on to a podium position. And number 1 after the first round of competition is Brazilian Marco Santi, back with a vengeance, just like we warned you.
Our first skater up of the competition was Matt Lindenmuth, as he's known. 64.75 in his first round. We'll see if he can improve on that here in the second. He lacked amplitude, but as you said, Arlo, he's really been spending most of his time on the snow. A pro snowboarder now, back on the ramp. It's good to see him.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see if that snowboarding has any effect on his skating in terms of able to bring over some of those skills or maybe the confidence he's learned from snowboarding.
Trying back-to-back 540 variations, going down on the second one, and he's going to have to throw this run out. A bummer.
Yeah, it is. You know, I was just about to say, it looks like he's definitely tried to raise the amplitude here in the second round. I like the spirit of what he's doing. But, you know, when you stay away from skating as long as he has, you know, he's just not as consistent as he once was, missing the stale 540, the inverted 540. Looking like Chris Edwards, actually, one of the legends of the sport. That stale inverted 540, kind of a tribute to Chris.
Showing that he's got some of the technical ability and doing the old school invert to fakie.
Yeah, inverts have really become a lost art form up there on the vert ramp in favor of the bigger, more dynamic air tricks and the more difficult grinds. You don't see a whole lot of variations on the inverts anymore.
That score, 44, irrelevant. He'll throw it out. He'll stick with his first round score of 64.75. And that moves us on to Glastonbury, UK's Rich Parker. He had a very decent first run, a 72.25. A good score for him because now he can sort of let loose and go for some bigger tricks now that he has one in the books.
Yeah, and you know, I thought his first run could have been scored higher. Rich really had good amplitude in the first run, threw out a lot of tricks, landed them all. Sometimes with a skater that the judges are less familiar with, it takes them a while to warm up to him. It is a subjective sport, and unfortunately it's not, you know, executed with scientific precision.
Oh.
And talk about not executing with precision. What a horrible way to start the run for Rich. That's too bad. And so, you know, he may have missed a shot there with his first run, which now looks like is going to be his best run, his better run here in this contest. Tough break for Rich.
It looks like he got a big pump, pulled away from the transition a little bit. Almost had to do the rolling down the windows or the breaststroke to try to regain his composure and just couldn't.
Well, you know, the only silver lining, if there is one to be found here, is that it was really his very first wall. So he, in essence, he can do his whole run here from start to finish. He's just going to have a whole lot less time to do it. And you know what? He went for one big trick. He knew he was nearly out of time. He just wanted to try and make an impression on the crowd. Too bad for Rich.
And made a fundamental mistake there. Opened up too early on the second rotation. Didn't allow his legs to get back underneath him, but a great effort.
Well, you get the sense that that was a trick that, you know, he probably has not landed or has not landed often. And he just decided to try and make the most of out of a bad situation. Getting squirrely on the first wall, just misjudged the air. So then he came in and on his first wall, after getting back to the top of the ramp, tried to double backflip, maybe double back 180.
And like Matt Lindenmuth, he'll have to throw this score out. He'll stick with his 72.25 that he earned in the first run. Well, here's hoping Sven Boekhorst can improve on his first round score. So far, the second round has been a round of disappointments. We'll see if Sven can up the notch just a little bit. He had some great tricks in round number one. He had the big 720, his signature lip tricks.
Good height here. And you know, I hate to say it, but there really is a ceiling on how high Sven can get scored. I mean, in the first round, we saw a really solid run from him, which is about as good as we'll see from Sven, unless, you know, he tries a super hard lip trick. Well, they're raising the difficulties. He goes fish brain to a backside royale. or unless he adds a really difficult air trick. But right now it's sort of a level of consistency that you expect from Sven with the good grinds and the good airs, but nothing really right now that will push him, well, you know, certainly not into the 90s, but really not even into the mid-80s.
And disappointing, you don't see Sven go down on the lip tricks very often. You actually don't see him fall on vert very often. Here, unable to lock on, spins out of it 270 degrees to a safe landing on the flat bottom. And he too will have to throw away his second round score and stick with a 78.25 he earned in round 1. Borja Fernandez hoping to end this second round jinx.
Yeah, trying to see a good run here in the second round. Borja was solid in the first round. He started to lose a little bit of energy in the second half of his run, so let's see if he can't do it for a full 50 seconds here. Nice start again, inverted 720, completely tweaked out, right into the fakie 900.
And as you mentioned in round number 1, he does a lot of tricks where he starts backwards and then goes into the next trick backwards as well.
Good grind from Borja as he went true topside soyal.
Upping the lip trick difficulty here.
Yeah, you know, if you're going to lose that amplitude and hover around the coping, you may as well do really impressive stuff on the coping. So nice to see Borja getting some good grinds in there. And it looks like he's setting up for some airs again as he goes a little flat 360, flat 540, I mean. And so he knows he's got a solid run there. Much more energy than the first run. Much better run, I think.
All things being equal, his arms were much steadier that round every time he got onto the coping.
So early in the run, Borja showing his airs, good height on the airs, and especially good definition on the grabs. Look at how he tweaks back the mute all the way, arches his back. It just adds so much definition, so much interest to the airs. And they went right into a fakie 900, so great sequence there to start the run.
A 78.50 puts him in a tie for third with Fabiola DaSilva. And the pressure now sits on Fabiola to earn at least better than a 73 in her second round, or she's going to be bumped down. Before we drop in our next skater, Thumper Nagasako, he took some time at Woodward, Pennsylvania to perfect a new trick. It's the featured trick in this installment of the LG Trictionary.
Hi, I'm Thumper Nagasako. We're at Woodward Camp in Pennsylvania, and this is a 270 topside acid. You gotta ride all the way up the ramp, then you want some distance from the coping so you have space to spin, and then you spin 270, and as you spin you kind of spot your sole foot as it locks on, and then you pull around your other foot and then you spot that one lock on, and then you just hold it as long as you can and you come in fakie. It's a pretty hard trick. It's taken me a lot of practice, but good luck and try your best.
You can see more Trictionaries as well as behind-the-scenes footage on the top pros, video from the biggest events, the craziest tricks, and the biggest wrecks, all at bfd.com. Check it out. Thumper earned a 74.75 in round number 1. The trick that we just saw in the Trictionary is the one he had trouble with in round number 1. We'll see if he can improve here.
Yeah, hopefully all that training he was doing down at Woodward will pay off for him here in the second round. Starting out with some good airs. Inverted 540. We've seen a couple of 540 variations already here in this run from Thumper, trying to keep the amplitude high, setting up for something as he goes forward 1080.
Landing a little bit low, but this so far a big improvement over his first run.
Well, right as you say it, missing the another lip trick attempt, but then coming right back with a true spin X grind.
Well, this time able to get back up on the ramp and continue his run, so he should improve over his first run score.
Yeah, forward 900 flat spin, right into a 720, so this is going to be a tough one for the judges to score. He's landed a lot of tricks. He threw a giant trick with the 1080, only second rider we've seen here in this contest after Marc Engelhart, but he did also have, the missed grind, so it'll be real interesting to see where the judges put this one. Here he goes with a stale 540. This was earlier in his run, one of the more conventional spin variations from Thumper, but he really mixed it up. Went right into an off-axis 540 flat spin. And Thumper has really been snake bitten by the trick he did in his Trictionary. There he is once again missing the 270 top acid, but when he abandons that trick, he came right back with a true spin X grind and had no trouble with it. So maybe it's a Trictionary curse, Marc.
Well, his second run score does improve, 77.25, but the best he can do today is 6th place. So Thumper Nagasako not earning a medal spot as we move on to Kevin Marrin Lopez, who had a frustrating first run. The Belgian earned a 63.75 the first time around.
You know, it was a frustrating run for me as well as a spectator, because I'm used to seeing Marrin go high. He always was one of the standouts on the tour, a young emerging skater. And here you go, good amplitude from Marrin to start the run. So hopefully he will be able to keep this pace here throughout the run, because in the first run there, it just lacked energy all around. Backside Royale. Inverted 540.
There's a backflip, but see, again, the difference between this run, a single backflip, and something like Marco DeSanti's double backflip are like night and day. It's like watching almost a different sport.
Yeah, it is. And you know, essentially we're seeing a lot of setup tricks and filler tricks. It's like, you know, where's the meat? Like, where is the substance of this run?
Absolutely. Even if you just throw a little seasoning on that meat,
okay,
we'd be a little more excitement here on the ramp. That run almost identical to round number 1 for Kevin Marrin Lopez.
Yeah, he's going to have to raise the amplitude and keep it more consistent and add some difficulty if he's really going to contend in these contests. There, early in the run, you know, he got upside down, showed a couple of flashes, but clean soul grind, it's just the level of difficulty just is not there. As you mentioned, a single backflip, which, you know, back in the days doing Team Rollerblade street shows might have been impressive to end the show, but in this day and age, it's just hard to compete with those tricks.
And Kevin earns the exact same score, 63.75. He will finish the day down in 10th place. Things are heating up as we move to our top qualifiers. Marco de Santi out of Sao Paulo, Brazil still sits on top, with Tasmanian Devil Shane Yost in second, and a battle for third between Fabiola DaSilva and Borja Fernandez. Can American hopeful Marc Engelhart earn his way into a podium spot? We'll find out next.
The LG Action Sports World Championships have been brought to you by LG, Life's Good. By John Paul Mitchell Systems, it's not just what you do, it's how good you look doing it. Paul Mitchell, style points count. By Xbox 360, and by ASA Entertainment. We are Action Sports. Visit asaentertainment.com.
Welcome to beautiful Seattle, Washington. It is the LG Action Sports World Championships of Inline Vert. The action heating up here as we get to our top qualifiers, and Fabiola DaSilva fighting for that bronze medal position. Right now in a tie with Borja Fernandez, but Borja got a 73 even in run number 1, so Fabiola's got to get at least that score to stay in the 3rd position. However, Marc Engelhart still has to take his 2nd run, so she's got to improve.
Starting out strong once again, Fabiola tweaking back that mute method all the way right into a Liu Kang 540. So she had a solid first run, but already looks like she has raised the amplitude and the excitement level here for the 2nd run, setting up 360, going right into a fakie 900. Did not see that trick in the first run.
Well, there's a fine mix between flow and overall fluidity of a run, and then the level of tricks and how you pull them off. And Fabiola's got the 2nd, but she's also got the 1st really dialed. Her fluidity on the ramp is almost unparalleled.
Right, she is a seasoned skater, very confident on the ramp. She's very skilled at her craft, and you can see it in her skating. Nice invert, setting up fakie. And she's actually one of the few skaters who's pretty good on the coping as well. So she's got the whole bag of tricks. That was a very, very good run from Fabiola.
Wow, a great performance here at the championships. 2 great runs for Fabiola DaSilva. We'll see if it's enough to secure that 3rd position here in the World Championships.
Well, I would say that the 2nd run was better than her first. It had all that she had in the first run, the style, the big tricks like that flat spin 540, but even some things we didn't see in the first run. There was a fakie 900. She didn't do that in the first run. It's a big trick from her. And as we mentioned on the coping, not too bad. She goes alley-oop backside royale. And she brings so many different skill sets to each competition run. Here she goes upside down with the invert, showing all the 3 major skills.
Well, you said her run was better. The judges don't think so, but they give her almost an equal score, a 78 even. Good enough to bump Borja down into the 4th position. Marco DeSanti looking ever intense. His first run, a 91.25, well-deserved. Absolutely blew everybody away throughout all the big tricks. You know, he looked a little bit like a combination between Takeshi and Eito Yasutoko.
Yeah, and that's a pretty incredible combination. I mean, if you can look like a combination between those two, then you're a pretty formidable competitor. Marco starting out huge rocket air.
Huge Viking flip. That's Takeshi's big signature trick.
Right into the double flat spin, right into a switch double flat spin. I mean, that sequence of tricks right there is so incredible, so mind-blowing. It's off the charts in terms of difficulty, and the fact that he can land each one of those tricks high enough to go right into another super, super difficult trick. I mean, I can't say enough about this guy's skating.
There's a 540 flat spin. Some people are using that trick as their highlight trick, and he's just throwing it out there as a filler. Double backflip, maybe 3rd, maybe 4th most difficult trick in the run.
Unbelievable.
So yet another run to show you that it wasn't a fluke the first time around.
Yeah, to do what he's doing and to do it as consistently as he is doing is just unbelievable. Even the very first trick we showed you, the huge rocket air. I mean, the difficulty on that one's not so high, but the fact that he does it with such amplitude and such style, I mean, I just can't say enough about his skating. I'm so happy that he's back on the tour, and it is a huge boon to vert skating to have Marco DeSanti back competing at the top level.
The time away did nothing but made him better. Marco DeSanti, another 91.25, still our current leader. It is going to be very difficult for Marc Engelhart or Shane Yost to catch him.
Well, they certainly have their work cut out for them. I mean, that is a monster run to have to contend with.
And he's got his work cut out for him, the veteran Marc Engelhart, who's the subject of our BFD.com permanent record. Marc Engelhart takes home a silver medal, a great finish for him.
When I'm home, I'm not really doing much. Just sit around. It's not very exciting when I'm home. That's why I like to get on the road and travel. I mean, if I'm on the road, I'm with my friends usually, so that's a great thing. Because this has been my job. This is my 11th year on the Pro Tour now. And I consider myself very lucky to have this as a job. All my friends live in other states and other countries, which is weird because I only get to see them when we have contests, which is why I really like coming to these things, and I'm really glad we have this. And yeah, it's just good to get out and see everyone that you usually wouldn't have a chance to see. Shane and I spend, for the last few years, I mean, every summer he would come out here and pretty much stay at my house as his home base when he's here. And then we'll go and do shows and whatever and go to Woodward. And he pretty much motivates me to do it because when I'm at home by myself, I don't like skating by myself, you know. So he gets me motivated, he gets me out there and makes me do it. And it's been a really good thing and it's kept me up on the top of my game. I've never been one for exercise, but this year I've been trying to pick it up a little bit, doing some running, a little bit of stuff. And Shane Yost, who's a fitness madman, it's kind of hard not to get into it when he's around. I'm physically as good as I've been. Really, for skating, you need to skate a lot in order to keep up for a vert. And I'm 25, I'm still young, but I'm not getting any younger. So it's gonna start getting a little harder every year now. And I really gotta start thinking about that. And I've been riding a really small ramp. So it's good to be back on the big ramp. Of course, that means some of the tricks that I would usually do on the big ramp I haven't been doing. So fingers crossed that they work today.
Well, like you said, he's back on the big ramp. He prefers the big ramp, but you have to practice on it to have your tricks dialed.
He had that 1080 dialed in the first run, landed it no problems. There's a double flat spin.
So disappointing. He really has that trick in lockdown, and here just didn't put his feet down, it looked like. A disappointing second run from Marc Engelhart, and he will not make the podium this year.
Well, that's 2 falls for 2 runs, and you really have to say at this point that the time away from the big ramps has hurt him here in the finals. I mean, he does not look like he's in championship form, and that is too bad because Marc had a unique opportunity here with the Yasutokos away to really do some damage at this event.
He'll stick with his first run score of 74.50 and finish in 7th place. And that secures Fabiola's position as the bronze medalist here at the World Championships as we move on to Shane Yost, who now sits in 2nd and has one final chance to dethrone Marco deSanti.
You know what, this is a difficult task here for Shane. I mean, it's a difficult task for anyone, but Shane right now is so close, and it's just a matter of figuring out how are you going to get those extra 6 or 7 points to get you over Marco deSanti. And looking at this skater, I'm not sure I know how he's going to do it. I mean, Shane is the only rider to have ever landed a 1260 in a contest. And, you know, short of that, I don't know if he can beat that run from Marco.
Well, you're not going to get it done with that. And on that fall, we have a world champion for 2008, the Brazilian Marco deSanti. Blows everybody's mind with those huge tricks, and he comes away with the top prize. Shane Yost will still sleep well tonight, knowing he did very well in his first round, 86.25. He earns the silver medal here at the championships.
Second round started off pretty good for Shane as well. Good amplitude throughout some of his big tricks. 720 laid out. But then when he went for the double flat spin, a trick that he absolutely needed, just wasn't able to pull it off.
A day of incredible finishes and some disappointments here on the monster vert ramp. There's a look at your new world champion. Marco deSanti spent some time away, and he is back with a vengeance. He takes the top spot here on the Paul Mitchell leaderboard. Shane Yost takes home silver, and Fabiola DaSilva earns the bronze medal. Our sideline reporter, Catfish, is with our champion.
Marco, what does it mean to take a win here today?
Man, I'm stoked. I came here to do what I gotta do. I skate with the best band in the world. #1 band, I got the #1 too. So I'm stoked.
What is going through your mind making the podium here in Seattle?
Man, I don't know. I came to this contest. Everybody's so good. Shane, you know, the Yasutokos, unfortunately, they couldn't be here. That's why this contest was kind of like easier for me because less people showed up. But it's amazing to be on the podium with the guys. I mean, I was almost crying up there, but I'm really happy to be here. So I'm excited, and it's been a great event for me so far.
Some great skating from a very international field here at the LG Action Sports World Championships. For more results and highlights, be sure to log on to lgactionsports.com. For Arlo Eisenberg and sideline reporter Catfish, I'm Mark Shays. We'll see you next time.